So next is John Hills, talking about the embodied emotion psychotherapy for people who present with somatic symptoms.
I'd wager that every one of us in this hall can remember a time when our body spoke of our emotional experience. Think of the way your stomach churns when you're fearful or anxious, or that cheeks can flush with blood when we're embarrassed, or that eyes can fill with tears of sadness or joy, or the way an extraordinary moment can take your breath away. I'm a counsellor, and my work involves helping people who got stuck on their emotions. But very often, I find that these can be expressed as real physical symptoms, known as somatic symptoms. Conditions such as chronic pain, palpitations, dizziness, or irritable bowels can affect millions of us in the UK alone, and medically unexplained symptoms can become debilitating. My PhD research is a multi-case study of psychotherapies for people living with these conditions. What were the patterns that underpin symptom flare-ups? How could therapy be helpful? And what did change look like? Peter was 24 years old when he began therapy, having suffered for 3 years with non-epileptic seizures. It was during therapy that Peter made a remarkable connection between his adulthood seizures and his childhood response to his parents' explosive rows, which was to curl up in the fetal position. It was as though his body remembered what it felt like to be powerless. Marianne was just in her 50s when her husband was diagnosed with lung cancer. In 2 months, he was dead. When Marianne came for therapy a year later, she complained of mysterious numbness in her arms that felt like frightening out-of-body experiences. However, during therapy, Marianne realised it would be no surprise she felt phantom-like, given how disconnected she was from the people around her since her husband's death. Crucially, I want to build models of change, which is where the slide comes in. Does change follow a sequence? For example, you may have heard of the stages of grief. Do we need to reach certain threshold levels where baseline needs are met before we can start to process these difficult emotions? Do we see a ripple effect where a single event in a person's life or in therapy can trigger a cascade of changes? Or do we see a fractal where a process or pattern repeats itself on many different scales of time? What's exciting about my research is that the participants' own voices will be heard loud and clear as theories about change and what was helpful are generated collaboratively and in the participants' own voices, own language. Interim findings have already been presented to counsellors in the NHS and the third sector, and training days are launched next year. Peter completely recovered from his seizures, and Marianne left therapy having discovered hope for a future. What inspires me in my contribution is knowing that we can make a difference, and that difference can change a life. Thank you.
Thank you, John.